like, you got some takes on these tiers. I'm like, you know it. You know I do. So I went and broke down all 32 teams. I put them in Super Bowl tiers. I have 5 tiers. So I guess let's roll the tiers. So starting at the bottom with absolutely no shot, you got the Denver Broncos. They stink. Patriots, awful. New York Giants, dumpster fire. Raiders, not very good. And a bit of a surprise entrant in the Arizona Cardinals, who I don't think are very good this year. The schedule is brutal. Not a ton of talent. I think they're in a wait-and-see year where it's like, is Kyler Murray our guy? We'll see. But that group is absolutely no shot at anything. Next up, we've got they need a prayer. These 7 teams need a prayer to get to the playoffs or Super Bowl, starting with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sorry, guys. As much as I've liked Russell Wilson, it ain't happening. That team is not very good. Schedule's daunting. No thank you. I think the Bucs take a big step back, losing a great offensive coordinator in Canales. Listen, it's not a knock on Baker. I don't see it duplicating this year. The Saints are the team that irked me to no end last season. Folks, I was all in on them. Schedule, everything. I just looked at the off-season ranking for offensive lines. The Saints are 32nd, according to one report. 32nd. And we know Carr stinks under pressure. Saints, they're not going to be good. Vikings, Alex and I talked about them earlier. Good team, but they're going to need a prayer in that division. Washington, I'm not feeling the hype. Cowherd loves them. I don't see it. Carolina Panthers, the only team in this group which kind of has the arrow pointing up. If you remember, last month we had on a guy, Adam Chernoff. His group bet the Panthers win total over, moved it from 4.5 to 5.5. I'm telling you, Panthers are a buy team for me. And then the Tennessee Titans, they're not very good, but they got a lot of new pieces. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they're not in that final bottom group. Mid. That's what the young kids like to say. How's my fit today? Oh, that's mid, Dad. Not great. That's how I feel about these teams. Dolphins, they pull back a little. Falcons, are they that good? They're the one argument they should be up higher. Rams, obviously, made the playoffs last year. I don't know if Stafford's going to stay healthy again. Bears on the uptick. Jags, I don't know what to make of the Jags, folks. I can't put them in a tier higher. They're not lower. Colts is another team on the uptick. Keep an eye on the Colts. If Richardson's healthy, they are going to be in contention for a playoff spot. And then Seattle, I don't know what to do with Seattle. Wacky season. Now, the second tier, which we're calling in the mix for the Super Bowl, is lengthy. Obviously, Buffalo, I know people are going to say, wait, Buffalo, why aren't they in the top? I think Alex and I talked about the Ravens. A lot of people have Ravens in the top. I'm just telling you, Ravens, last year, obviously a charmed season. They had home field advantage, Lamar MVP. They lost a lot of dudes. Offensive line, defensive coordinators gone. There will be a pullback from the Ravens, folks. I'm getting in front of it. I don't know if they're going to be like a 9-win team, but they will certainly not be the cream of the crop in the AFC. Eagles, I like, and they nearly made the top list for me. Texans, I can't go all in. I know Alex and I talked about them earlier. I can't put them in the top tier. Cowboys, we'll see. They've got a lot of question marks. Everybody loves the Packers. Now, the Chargers, I think, have the lowest win total of the in the mix crowd. But I'm just telling you, their schedule is cake. They're here based on the schedule. And keep an eye on the Browns, who I think are a little undervalued. Their offensive line, returning healthy, it's so beat up last year. I like the Browns. And finally, the top tier, the favorites. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The New York Jets. They are there, folks. No cap. 49ers obviously are there. They're the favorites. The Chiefs are going to be in the mix, to win the Super Bowl. I don't like it, but that's the reality. Detroit Lions are very good. They will be knocking on the door. And yes, the Cincinnati Bengals, who finished last place in the division last year. And every year somebody goes worst to first. Now, it's a little cheesy to go, a team with a good record to go worst to first, but that's what the Bengals were, toughest division in football. I have a lot of notes on the Jets. I'm not going to go too deep here, but I have them favored in 13 of 17 games. Pro Football Focus has their offensive line. They were 31st last year. They're 5th this year because it got so much better. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers' Achilles is everything, but the offensive line is way better. Pass defense, number 1 in the NFL. A guy at ESPN said the Jets linebackers graded out as tied with the Niners as the best in the league. Folks, this team is stacked ridiculously stacked. If healthy, and let's just assume health for everybody, I'm telling you, the Jets will be in the mix. We can make fun of Aaron Rodgers' Egypt nonsense, but I'm on record. The Jets will be in the mix. Favorites, one of the top five, one of the five favorites to win the Super Bowl. And Vegas, guys, kind of sort of agrees with me. All right, there it is. Our next guest, I'm sure he's going to have some opinions on it. He's probably not going to like it. Clarence Hill, he is. Talk me through it.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious basketball stuff is another guy to stretch the floor with Luka and Kyrie. Championship pedigree, we kind of saw, and I'm admittedly a sucker for this stuff, the way that Kyrie did bring a different mentality to that group as the only guy who had won a championship on that Mavericks roster. This, to me, now adding a guy who's won 4, who was part of a fantastic dynasty and who's got a lot of motivation now because he doesn't feel great about the way the Warriors kind of sent him out. I think it'll be a good fit. Defensively, the question is, can Clay recapture some of what he used to have before those 2 devastating injuries? But, they're just trying to add to what they had from before and build off what they did on that finals run.
Do you have the Mavs as the best team in the West right now? I know Minnesota brings back basically everyone, had a good draft. OKC had just a bonkers summer, adding Caruso, Hartenstein. I don't know, how do you shape up the top of the West?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my mind went to OKC first, which is counterintuitive for me because last year I was one of the people that was really slow to believe that they could really make an impact. But you add Hartenstein. Caruso is a fantastic two-way player, obviously an elite defender. I love what they did. We can't forget about the Nuggets, even though they had a pretty tough summer, losing KCP. And then Minnesota, I think it's all about Anthony Edwards, and does that ascension continue? Does he figure out the nuances of superstardom that I think kind of tripped him up late in the postseason last year? The West is obviously pretty stacked.
Yeah. Let's go to the East and Paul George real quick. I don't know. He's bounced around the league now a few times, and everywhere he goes, it's like, oh, Paul George makes some instant contenders. And then it doesn't really materialize. I mean, heck, we even saw Bradley Beal go to the Suns, and I thought they would go to the finals, and it was like, didn't quite work. Damian Lillard last summer to the Bucks.
Yep.
Oh, the Bucks, favorites in the East. And it feels like that model is kind of dead, the 3-star model.
I hear you. I mean, that's you took the words right out of my mouth. Not to say it won't work. I think at minimum it's going to take some time, and that's what we learned this past season. You look at not little apples to oranges, but Minnesota and the way that the Rudy Gobert trade took 2 years to kind of bake and figure out, and for the T-Wolves to be better. The Mavs with Kyrie, we were ready to kind of cut the cord on that after the first season with them together. The Suns maybe can figure it out this year. The Bucks maybe. But if you look at Philly, I think the takeaway, if you're going to use that logic, is that it might take a little while. First of all, they got an entire roster to build out. They still have a lot of work to do. All that being said, for me, J-Mac, I was given a big-time thumbs up on that move because Daryl Morey had put himself in a position where it was kind of an all-or-nothing proposition. It was a high-stakes situation where if they didn't get Paul, then you've got 30-year-old Joel Embiid yet again looking around wondering who his co-stars are going to be. Tyrese Maxey's amazing, but they needed more. So for them, I think it was a fantastic move.
All right, Sam, this is a tough one. Yesterday, I did my top 10 players in the NBA right now. And, we had Eddie House on, and he was apoplectic that I left Jaylen Brown off the list, and I had Jason Tatum in there. Here's my top 10 currently. Obviously, people did not like Jokic second, but there seems to be a lot of consternation that Kevin Durant was left off. His agent went on the Instagram and was like unhappy. Just nonsense. I'm just curious. My top 10, obviously I'm a big boy. I can take it. You love it. You hate it. Who am I missing?
No, I mean, the KD one is tough. LeBron, I really feel like we need to kind of look at the film and really break down. His numbers were incredible last year. We got to make sure that we're not, rating him as, damn, he's good for a 39-year-old. You know what I mean? Like he's to get on this list, you have to be the best of the best. And I don't know if he's above KD at this point. Up at the top, J-Mac, I think that's probably still got Joker number one.
Fair.
I know he didn't get the job done in the playoffs, but Luka, in some of those moments in the finals where we got reminded that he still has a lot of growth on the defensive side and the leadership side and the composure side, that's going to, I think, take him out of that top spot for me.
Fair.
Giannis, as a quick side note, I think is going to be on fire this season from a motivation standpoint because we've all kind of forgotten who he is. We can go all the way through. The Tatum one's tricky. I mean, I voted Jaylen Brown for Finals MVP for obvious reasons, and you kind of saw after he got Eastern Conference Finals MVP why, even with the title, we're probably not going to stop debating, the two J's.
Yeah. KD over LeBron. That might be the spiciest take I've heard this week. Which is,
I hear you, brother. I mean, he quick context to me. Late last season, not amazing for Kevin. Defensively, the Suns coaching staff absolutely raised